Why is it that some people go on to experience enormous success in their life while most people really struggle or just get average results? Is it because of their IQ? Is it because of their family or their upbringing or their education or the country that they're born in? What's it got to do with? Well, first of all, the idea of the self-made man or self-made woman, I don't buy into that. I believe that where you were born, your education, all of those things matter. They matter a lot more. If you take someone who's achieved billionaire status and they're super successful in many areas of their life, and if they were brought up in a different country where they didn't have all of those advantages, they didn't have education, they were born into poverty, I think a lot of them would struggle. Okay, that's just the truth. I think that if you were born in a country like Australia, the USA, Canada, etc., then you do have enormous advantages over a lot of people. But putting all of that aside, right? Putting all of that aside, what is it that separates someone who's super successful from everyone else? I think it's because of their ability or their willingness to implement. And I want to show you what I mean. So if you want to achieve something, there's really two ways that you can get things done, right? You want to go from point A to point B. Point B being big results in life, whether it's health, money, career, whatever it is. You want to get from point A to point B. Two types of people. Most people want to get everything perfectly lined up before they start executing. They want to have all the answers. They want to know the exact plan. They're very scared to make mistakes, and that is most people. And because of that, they don't execute. They never start. They never begin. They never put plans into action, or they take way too long to get it done. But people who tend to get really good results in life, they have a very different approach. They start. They just get started even when they don't have all the answers. Now, I know you've seen this before somewhere, but if you want to go from point A to point B, you've got really two main options. People think, or they want to think, it's just a straight path. If they have all the answers, they're going to be able to go from point A to point B in a straight path. They want to make a lot of money in their life. Well, they pick a career and they think, okay, I'm just going to be able to go down that straight path. But it doesn't usually work like that. How it usually works is someone who's super successful, they start, but they often go in the wrong direction because they don't know what they don't know. They don't have all the answers, but they just start. So they go in the wrong direction. They hit an obstacle. They go back in another slightly different course of action. They hit another obstacle. And it's this zigzag line that eventually gets them to point B. It takes longer than they thought. They make a lot more mistakes. It costs them a lot more money and energy along the way than they initially planned. But because they started, they get results from the real world. If I look at any success that I had over the past 10 years, I had things that went really well, things that didn't go so well. But the things that went really, really well, they came as a result of me just one day deciding, I'm just going to begin. I don't have everything in place. I don't have all the tools, resources I need, but I'm just going to start taking action. And it was exactly this. I made so many mistakes along the way. I made mistakes which literally cost me millions of dollars, not just a figure of speech. I mean, they literally cost me a lot of money, a lot of time, but I don't regret any of them because I started and I learned from those mistakes. Making those mistakes, that was the exact reason I was able to achieve the outcome. So my suggestion to you is be one of those people who just starts. Even if you don't feel comfortable, even if you don't have all the answers, just take the first step to getting to that end result that you're looking to achieve. I'm going to give you an example. So where I'm standing right now, about 5 years ago, I was here for the very first time. This is at a resort in Costa Rica, which I got involved in, Sunset Del Mar Beach Resort. And I remember sitting here at a table and it didn't look anything like it looks today. This was prior to the renovations. When I first saw this place here in Costa Rica, I thought, what a dump. That's honestly what I thought. I thought this place is so run down. I don't want to get involved. My first initial reaction was I want nothing to do with it because it was literally falling apart. I remember after that first meeting, sitting here to see the place for the first time, I walked off down that way and gutters were falling down, roofs were caving in, the water wasn't running, the garden was just completely overgrown. It just did not look nice at all. And so I had a decision to make. I was looking for a resort to get involved in to host conferences for my last company. But I thought, I'm not ready for this. I am not ready to do a renovation or be involved in a renovation on this scale because I have no prior experience. At that point, my only real estate investing experience was an apartment in Malaysia. That's it. So investing in a country where I didn't even speak the main language, I didn't speak Spanish. It was a big step, and doing it where there was this big renovation, which was going to take probably a year, cost a lot of money. It was way outside of my comfort zone. So I had a choice to make. Do I put this off and do I take on some smaller projects first, maybe get involved in a hotel resort that's already finished and it's ready to go, and maybe work my way up. Maybe in the future I can get involved in real estate projects and learn about renovations and one day do a hotel? Or do I just start? Do I just get involved, dive into the deep end and learn as I go? And I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna learn as I go. Now I had people helping me, of course. I had advisors and people who had a lot more experience than I did. But that's how I always made decisions throughout most of my 20s for that last project that I was involved in. I would just start. Even when I didn't have all the answers, all the resources, all the experience, I just started. And I learned along the way through making a lot of mistakes. Okay, and speaking of the renovation of this place, I made so many mistakes. If I could go back and do it over again, I think I could do it for half the money just by avoiding a lot of silly things that I did. But that's the best way to learn, and that's the best way to get from point A to point B. It's just to start today, start now with what you have, make a lot of mistakes along the way, and learn from those mistakes. So I want to give you a couple more examples. I remember one time I wanted to create my very first information product which I could sell. And that product was going to be on email marketing. And for years I'd been putting it off because I felt that I didn't know enough or I wasn't good enough yet to create my very first product. So one day I just decided I'm going to do it. I'm going to create a product on email marketing. So the very first thing I did is I went to a bookstore and I brought a ton of books on email marketing. Now I'd been doing it myself for a number of years, so I did really know what I was talking about. I knew a lot about it, writing emails, writing copy, setting it all up with autoresponders, all of that. But still, I wanted to study and learn all these different things and really construct this big elaborate course. And weeks went by. And I got to the point where I realized, look, if I just keep on trying to get this perfect, I'm just going to continue to put it off and I'm not going to get the result. So one day I just decided I'm just going to start. And I sent an email out to my audience and I said, hey, look, I'm going to be doing a series of live training webinars that eventually I'm going to sell after I've done them. And they are going to be on how to set up emails for your business, email marketing. And that's what I did. And so now I had a deadline. Now I had an audience showing up. And so I did a webinar, I think it was like on a Tuesday. I did my next webinar Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I ended up doing, I think it was 8, and it took me about 10 days. I took a break, I think, on the weekend. But after 10 days of this intensely stressful period where I had to create all the content the day, the morning, the day, the afternoon prior to that night, and then deliver the training. But at the end of that, I had my first product. The very next month, I did the same thing. And I did that for 4 months. I created 4 information products that I sold for a couple $100 each. And then I packaged them up and I sold that for a lot more. And I sold that for many years to come. But my point is, the big change, the big shift happened when I decided to just start doing it. Same thing with my very first live event. One day in 2011, as I had been doing for years, I've been thinking about doing a live event, okay? An event where I would actually speak and I would have an audience. But it was always something that I would do in the distant future because I wasn't ready yet. That's what I would tell myself. For years, I told myself I'm not ready. One day I decided, you know what? I've got to get uncomfortable here. So I sent out an email. I told people, hey, I'm going to be doing an event in Las Vegas. It's going to be here. It's going to be, at this date approximately, and tickets are going to be $1,000. And do you want to get a ticket? And I actually sold 2 of them. within a few days. Not knowing the hotel, not knowing anything really about this event. I hadn't done any of the content or anything, but now I was locked in. So I kept on selling it, and as I went along, I started planning things out. Now, I didn't end up doing that event in Las Vegas because it was booked out. This was a very bad time. So I had to shift it to San Diego last minute, but I did my first event. I had 46 people there, $1,000 each, and it was the most stressful 3 days of my life, at least up until that point. But the moral of the story is, the big shift happened. I just decided to start. I'm just gonna start doing this and figure it out as I go along. So any major result that I've got in my life, and this goes for anyone really, anyone who's ever achieved anything, it all begins when you decide to just start. So I'm gonna finish with a quote, but it's a quote which really resonates with me. And this is by Napoleon Hill. So here's the quote: "Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work whatever tools you may have at your command, and better tools will be found as you go along." I really like that because that is so true. You just start with what you have, even if you don't have all the right tools, and as you go along, you find the resources you need. Okay, so it's always a work in progress, but just start. Just start today, just start. So that's my advice to you. Just start with what you have today. Even if you don't have all the tools, the resources, you will figure it out as you go along. Okay, now make sure you subscribe to this channel if you like this content, and I will see you tomorrow. Speak soon.